Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. My name is Vadim and I'm from Not Just Development. And today we're gonna continue building our Instagram clone in React Native. So let me know down in the comments if you can hear me well and if everything is alright. We'll wait a couple of minutes so people can join, and then we can start planning today's session, what we're gonna build, and so on. Can you hear me, guys? So first of all, hi Borja, hello. Your favorite coder. Thank you, thank you. So hi Dima, hello. So first of all, let's run the application and see where we are at the moment. For that, we're gonna start the server. It was already running for some reason. And let's run the iOS app. What I'm drinking self-made coffee that looks dope. Let's update the pods, be sure that we're on the same page. And let's run the application on iOS. We'll wait a little bit until it builds for iOS. Hey guys, where are you coming from? From what part of the world? It's interesting for me. Yeah, the application built successfully and now it's launching. My dogs are very mad for some reason. Okay, so here we see our Instagram clone that we have built during the previous 3 episodes. By the way, if you didn't check them out, like I would suggest go ahead and check them out before continuing with this episode if you are trying to build it yourself. But I also highly encourage, because it's one thing to watch, it's another thing to follow along and to see yourself, like how you're doing, and experiment with everything. So here is the list of posts, the feed. We currently see the 3 posts. On top we have our stories. We can horizontally scroll on them, and we can also like press on a story and it will open, and we can navigate to the next one. It's still like the same user stories. If the user doesn't have any more stories, if we press, it will go to the next user, for example here Lucas, and so on. And yeah, how do I go back from here? Okay, that's something that I didn't think about, but we can rerun it and we can fix it a bit later. So the thing is that everything right now, the data for the application is hard coded, is like mock data. For example, if we look at the feed component, we see here like the hard coded data that we are using, and the same things goes for the stories and other information. What I want to do today and what I plan is to connect this UI with a backend to have a data stored in a database, to be able to add, to view the posts, also to be able to authenticate, to protect the application using authentication. Um, and what I'm gonna use for that is AWS Amplify. There are multiple options for doing this, starting from developing your own server, which doesn't make sense for this application because it will take too much time. And nowadays there are already solutions ready that you can use to speed up your development of the backend. And some of this solution is Firebase, and also AWS provides AWS Amplify, where we can do like authentication. It manages users. You can create a, API, a REST API or a GraphQL API. You can also store with files and in S3 buckets, and a lot more features it has. So why I chose AWS Amplify? First of all, I think that AWS is much more suitable for production-ready builds in comparison with Firebase, because in Firebase it's probably easier to get started, but it doesn't handle that well like production builds with a lot of requests. So I would like you to introduce to this AWS Amplify, because it will definitely be a good thing for you to learn if you plan to learn these things with um, like some plans in mind in future to develop some application, where to work on production ready application, because I think that's the end goal of everything that we're doing here. We are trying to learn something that will be useful in our real life. Yeah, I also have some biases regarding AWS. I'm AWS certified, and I also recently finished my internship at Amazon. So I really love them. I'm using AWS for my startup, Fitinium, and it scales pretty well so far. We have more than 12,000 users, and the cost of it is pretty low if you know how to use it, and if you don't overdo things that you don't understand. So yeah, so let's go ahead and have a look at AWS Amplify. For that you will need an AWS account. You can go ahead, create one. Most probably you will need to add your credit card while creating the AWS account. But if you don't use any paid like services, because most of the services you have a free tier, so it's free unless you reach a limit which is pretty high, because even if in Fitinium we don't go beyond the free tier for a lot of services. So if you clean up everything after you're done, like you're never gonna you'll not gonna be charged, so don't worry about that. So yeah, create an AWS account, and then let's continue with this one. So here is the AWS Amplify homepage. It says like it's the fastest, easiest way to develop mobile and web apps for scale, and it has like a lot of here are products and features. It has like authentication, database, APIs, storage, analytics. That's also a good point. You can also integrate machine learning and AI algorithms for predictions, and suggesting content for users, for example. And by the way, it will use the same algorithms that Amazon is using for their homepage recommendations. So that's really nice. Push notifications and a lot of more features. Today we're gonna use only authentication and API and the API. Yeah. So let's go to the getting started, develop your app. I'm gonna show you how to follow along with the documentation. So if you ever feel stuck, you have like a reference where to find this information and where to get more details, because in this live stream I might go a bit faster over some details, but if you want to really learn, like, here is where you can find everything. So we'll select React Native because that's what we are using. First of all, like, we are gonna go to Amplify CLI, and here, like, install Amplify CLI. So you'll have to install AWS Amplify CLI using this command globally, and then you will have access to the Amplify command. After that, go ahead and run Amplify configure. It will ask you a couple of questions. First of all, like, the AWS region. For the region, I would suggest you picking like one of the regions that is closest to you. You can find a list of regions on AWS website, or you can leave it by default as they're suggesting, because it doesn't make a lot of difference. Only like some regions doesn't have all the features, but that's like only the new regions that they're adding. Then you'll specify the username of a new YAM user, and after that, when you press enter, it will redirect you to AWS, and you'll go through creating this YAM user in your account. Give it the administrator access, and then click next, and then create, and you should be good to go. After that, you'll see on the screen like the access key. Copy that and paste it back to your terminal, and then the secret access key, which will also be on AWS console. Copy that as well and paste it back into your console. Leave a profile name to default, or create a new profile name if you want. And that's it. Your AWS Amplify should be set up properly. I hope you will manage to do this step. I'll not go along with for this one because it will take some time. But if you have any questions, don't forget, ask me down below and I'll try to help you. Okay, we set up AWS Amplify. Now okay, we did that. Set up a full stack project. We go here. We will select React Native CLI for this specific project, but if your project is Expo, select Expo. We don't need to initialize React Native app because we already have one. The only thing that we need to do is call Amplify init. Okay, let's start. Here is where all the fun begins. So let's write Amplify init. Okay, enter a name for this project. We will leave Instagram clone. Enter a name for the environment. Development is good. Here we can choose our default editor. We will select IntelliJ IDEA. However, our ID is WebStorm, so they don't have WebStorm there. Choose the type of app that you are building. We are building a JavaScript app. What JavaScript framework are you using? We select React Native here. We leave as default the source directory and the distribution directory. The build command is npm run script build. We leave it by default. Press enter. The start command the same. And now we will wait a bit until it sets up. Do you want to use an AWS profile? We select yes, and here you choose default. You choose the default one if when creating the YAM user you left the name of the profile default, or we select the one that we created. In my case, I created already a profile called IG clone test. I'll select that one, and yeah, and wait a bit. Yeah, now it starts running the CloudFormation stack. CloudFormation is the AWS solution for having infrastructure as code. So that's basically all the infrastructure that you're running on the AWS will be created using code, and this way we can easily recreate the same deployment in different regions for different environments. We can without going and clicking a lot of buttons in the console, and also we can have it in our version control, so we know on each version like what stack did we have on AWS. So everything is ready. What are the next steps? First of all, let's add the authentication, because I think it's a bit easier than the API, and then we can go and create the API. So how we're gonna add the authentication? We simply write amplify add auth. This is the same way adding any services to Amplify, because Amplify is a combination of a lot of services. So each of them like have separate AWS service. For example, Amplify is working with not Amplify. Authentication is working with AWS Cognito. For example, API is using AppSync for GraphQL APIs and stuff like that. So we to create to add authentication to our app, we will write amplify add auth. We will select default configuration. If you want to add social providers, for example, sign in or log in with Google, with Facebook, you can go ahead with this one. Just go ahead with documentations, and there you'll find all the information. But basically, you will need to create an Facebook or a Google account, and you will need this the not account, an application on Google or on Facebook, and you will need that token from there. But for the simplicity reason, we'll go with default configuration. How do you want your user to be able to sign in? Let's go with username. Do you want to configure advanced settings? No, I'm done. And it will, yeah, it created. And now in order for us to deploy these changes to AWS, we will write amplify push me, and then just touch me. Amplify push will go ahead and run all our CloudFormation changes, and it will create the services that we actually need in AWS. So in 1 second I will show you how you can see them in AWS console. We will wait a bit for it to create. It takes some time. Hey guys, how are you doing? Did you follow the previous episodes, or are you just dropping by right now? This may take a few minutes. It usually, yeah, it's 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah, this Amplify is a really nice service, and I'm probably sad that I didn't know about it when I started Pitinium, because a lot of the things that we spend a lot of time in Pitinium building, for example, we spend like a lot of time connecting our application to be able to sign in with Apple, because initially we had only like sign in with Facebook, and we published our app on iOS store. And if you have Facebook sign in, you must also have Apple sign in. So that also slowed us down, and we implemented iOS sign in. But using this Amplify, if we were using Amplify in our project, that would be so much easier. Like we just create this application on iOS, and we everything else is handled by Amplify. It also allows you to customize the design to match your application. Yeah, like you can do a lot of things here, and everything is ready. We'll see in a moment like how easy it is to add like the authentication screens and stuff like that. Okay, all resources are updated in the cloud. So to see our resources in the cloud, we will write amplify console, and it will open up the console. 1 second, it opened in a different screen. Yeah, it's here. So here is the stack for our application. We see that it has authentication. We can view this in Cognito. We can see users and settings. The API is not set up yet. We'll set it up in a moment. And yeah, everything is here. Like we see that it created what services and so on. Also here we see like which categories has been added. And for now it's only like authentication. Okay, we don't need this one at the moment. So let's continue with creating the login UI. What we have to do is in our app.js, we need to import with authenticator. Let's close this one. Let's go to our app.js. Oh, before doing that, I think I didn't finish with setting up the project here. I rushed a bit. So yeah, Amplify init, we ran that one. Now we need to install the Amplify libraries. And for that, we're gonna copy all the libraries. Yep, that we need to install. And then do yarn add and paste in the libraries that we need to add. My coffee is done. Water is still good. So yeah, it will add everything, all the packages, and after that we will just have to go to the iOS folder and install the pods. For the UI fonts, the Amplify also needs the React Native vector icons. It says that we need to add this string information in our info file for iOS, but as you remember, we already did that, so we don't need to do it again. We installed React Native vector icons and we set them up properly. So yeah, it finished installing the libraries. Now let's do the pod install. to install the modules in the iOS project. And the last thing that we need to do is to configure the Amplify. So we'll copy this code and we will add it to the index.js from the root folder. We go to the index.js here in the root folder, like you close all the folders and here you'll find the index and we add it here. I like my library import to be on top, and after that we can leave it like this. So we save, our app is refreshing, but I think we need to rerun it because it has new modules. So let's be on the safe side and rerun it. Yarn start and yarn Android. Okay, while it's rerunning, we are finished with setting up. Yeah, my mistake that I skipped some steps. We can go back to our authentication. So as I was saying, we need to import with authenticator from AWS Amplify React Native. And that thing you will do in source app.js. So we import with authenticator. And when we export default application, we wrap the application around the function with authenticator, like this. You can also see it here. And now, what's going on? I don't need an Android emulator. Yeah, I wrote probably yarn Android. No, I don't need yarn Android. Come on. Chill. Okay, let's open a new one and build it for iOS. Let's wait a bit until it builds. And this is all you need to add the authentication step to your application. Like, look how much code we wrote, like 2 lines of code with authenticator, and we wrap around our application in this function, and that's it. Like, you will see the result, and with this you get like a lot of features, like signing up, login, all the flow for resetting a password. You receive, whenever you sign up, you receive a confirmation code on email. When you forget your password, you receive also an email with a link. Like, everything is there, guys. Like, if you're building like a proof of concept that you don't care a lot about design, like you use this authenticator from Amplify, and that's it. Like, in 5 minutes you have a working application with authentication. Like, how crazy is that? Like, you don't have to write your own server, write your own code for managing the tokens and handling the authentication. And it's definitely more secure because there are dedicated teams at Amazon that are specifically working for these services, and I'm pretty sure that they handle the security better than we developers by ourselves can do. And even like to match that level of like security and everything, we would need like a lot of time. So yeah, this way we can save a lot of time for ourselves in order to do more meaningful stuff for our application. My Android emulator doesn't want to close. I have a quick fix for that. We go here, we kill the process. Yeah, that's it. iOS is still building. Build succeeded. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, our app is running. Running. Downloading the bundle. Come on. Take some time. Download. Come on. Okay, so voila, here we go. So we have our login welcome screen because initially we're not logged in, so we are redirected to this screen. Here we can see that we can enter our username, password. If we'll try something random, it has like user does not exist. It has like error messages, like everything, like forgot password, where you can enter your username. Yeah, but for now, let's sign up. And yeah, let's sign up with username Vadim, password, and for the email, I'll write my email here. Did I write it correctly? Yeah, for the phone number, for now we can just put some random numbers. And password did not confirm with a policy, password not long enough. So that's another cool feature about this. And this password policies is actually configurable. So you can set like how long should the password be, like should it contain letters or only like special characters and things like that. So we will create a stronger password. And yeah, we should receive a confirmation code on email. I'm gonna go check it out right now. Yeah, we received it right away. So we come back to our application and we write 5172114. Confirm. User does not exist. Why? Oh, because yeah, my username is Vadim. And password is this one. Sign in. Did I mess up the password? Probably messed up the password. Shall we try again? Vadim. Okay. User already exists. Okay, Vadim1. Now let's check our email. We receive a code. Let's try once again. 421. Username Vadim1. Okay, so username Vadim1 and our password. Very secure. You didn't see anything. And here we go. We created an account. We were managed to log in to sign up. We received an email with a verification code. So that's it, guys. Like now, if we refresh the application, we were gonna see the app right away without going through the login screen because it remembers that you are logged in. So yeah, that's all you need to do for having like basic authentication in your application. I think that that's really amazing, like how easy and how powerful this is. What do you think, guys? So What are the next steps? The next steps are more interesting. We're gonna start developing our backend API and connect our Instagram with it. So as you might guess, we will also use Amplify for it, and we're gonna create a GraphQL API. If you're not familiar with GraphQL APIs, it's like like a better version of REST APIs, but it has like a lot of advantages, because when we are querying something in the REST API, it's the backend who decides like what data to include in the response. So for example, if we query a user, it will give us all the information about the user, but we might only need like the username and the avatar like to display it. So that's a waste of resources and bandwidth. However, in GraphQL, it's the client who decides like what it needs. So if we want, for example, on the feed or for the a story component, we want only like the user name and the image. That's what we're gonna query. And also we can nest relationships in the same query. For example, if we want to query the feed, we will nest like the feed, which will return the post, and each post will include the username, and that's everything in one single request. Also like comments and stuff like that. For example, if we want to do the same thing in using a REST API, we're gonna have to create like a couple of requests. For example, one to retrieve all the posts. For each post, we will have like a user ID. We will do a separate request to receive information about that user if it's not already included. Also, for each post, we will do a separate request to request like the list of comments, and that's another request for each post. So you can imagine that you end up with a lot of requests, a lot of back and forth with the server, which increases the load of it. So GraphQL is much better in these terms. I'm using it at Witinium as well, and it's really helpful for the front end to design like what to query, what data to receive, relationships and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a short introduction into GraphQL. You can, if you're interested, let me know down below. I might also do a introduction, a tutorial, a separate video about it to go more in depth about it, because it's a really powerful technology. But for now, let's go to our Amplify docs, and here we go to connect API and database to Vav. So what we're gonna do is call Amplify add API, as you might guessed, the same way as we were doing for adding authentication. We go Amplify add API. It will ask us a couple of questions, and here in the first one we should choose like a GraphQL or REST API. We will go with a GraphQL. Provide an API name. We will leave a default Instagram clone. The default authorization type, we will go with an API key authorization for the API. Enter a description like Instagram clone. Here it asks us after how many days the API key should expire. Let's set 7, leave it as default. Do you want to configure advanced settings for GraphQL API? No, for now, because the default settings are pretty good for us. Do you have an annotated GraphQL schema? We don't have any schema yet, but we will create later. And here it suggests us to give like a template for the schema, not to start from scratch, to have some examples. And there are two options, like to go with a single object schema, and it, for example, like a to-do item with ID, name, and description, and a one-to-many relationship between blogs, posts, and comments. This is more similar to what we have with users, posts, comments, stories. So we will go with this template, and then we will edit it to fulfill our needs. Do you want to edit the schema now? Yes, we want, but we will say no because we will open the file ourselves because it crashes. It doesn't know how to open it. I tried. So now it set up everything. We need to define our schema. So in GraphQL, like everything is powered by the schema, and this is like in the schema we define like the structure of our objects, like what object we have, like what relationship between objects. And to see the schema, we go to the Amplify folder, backend, API, and then schema GraphQL. So we see here the default schema that they created with a blog, a post, and a comment. Let's edit it to fulfill our needs. So instead of a blog, we will have a user. It will have an ID, it will have a name, it will also have an image, and it's gonna be string, and exclamation mark means that this field is required. It will have posts, that's good, and the connection key name will be not by blog, by user, and fields ID, like this is the foreign key. The posts model key will have by user with the fields user ID. So it will have ID. Instead of title, we will go with a caption, which will be also string. It will also have an image, which is a URL, string, and instead of blog ID, we have user ID. Instead of blog, we have user of type user, and the connection will be based on the field user ID, this one. And it will have comments. For the sake of simplicity, we will not develop comments right now. We can add them later. And what else? Let's add also a story type. So story also will be by a user ID. A story will have an ID. A caption, story doesn't have captions. Image, user ID, and user. Yeah, that's good enough. For the posts, I think we can go with likes, which will be number. This will be the number of likes that the post has. Yeah, like this. So I think our schema is pretty good. We have a user model. We have a post which has a relationship to the user because it's posted by someone. We also have a story as well, has a relationship with a user. And yeah, right now what we need to do is call amplify push. Amplify push, as I said before, will go and create this did you mean user, an error code while pushing the resources to the cloud. Did you mean user? I think we need question mark here because user is a known type number. Known type number. That's weird because in GraphQL there is a type number. AWS AppSync types. Let's check the Scholar types of AWS AppSync. Probably it has a different name. It has ID, it has string, and it has int. Okay, it's not number. That's a difference between the AppSync scholars and usual GraphQL. Okay, let's try right now. terminal amplify push. You want to continue? Yes. GraphQL schema compiled successfully. And it asks us, do you want to generate code for your newly created GraphQL API? Yes, we want, and this will be like the queries and all the mutation that we will use in our application. It asks us the language. Let's go with JavaScript. Leave the file pattern as it is, and let's go with all the possible GraphQL operations. Maximum statement depth, let's keep it as 2. However, like if you have a deeply nested schema, and what does it mean? Like to have a user which has posts, and each post has comments, and each comment has like who posted by user and stuff like that. And if you have like these deep nested schemas, like we will increase this number. But for this project, a nested level of 2 is okay, because we're not gonna have more than that. And let's wait until it creates all the services in AWS. We should stay hydrated. Don't forget to drink water, guys. Very important. Let's go. Yeah, this API using Amplify and AppSync is really powerful, and the good thing about it is it's serverless, so it will scale based on how many requests you have. So it will work well with 10 users, and it will scale well automatically, having like thousands and hundreds of thousands of users. uh, yeah, that's one thing that I wish I did from the beginning at my startup, because we are running actual server on AWS, like an EC2 instance. So right now it's working pretty well, but in future, if the load will increase, we will have to manually manage the size of a server to increase it to meet the new requirements. Okay, so it published. We can call Amplify console API, and this will open the console of the API. Yeah, GraphQL, and yeah, let's go and see what it opened. Here we go. So yeah, here is our AppSync, AWS AppSync schema for the GraphQL. We can see the schema here. It has like all the ties for creating a post input, for creating story. It has like also, where is it? Like, come on, like story model, and yeah, post model, story. It also has like all the queries generated automatically, like get user, list users, which returns a list of user, get post, list post, as well as creating everything, create, update, delete, all CRUD operation automatically built in. That's really powerful, like how in depth it goes, and you can do everything with it. So what we're gonna do right now, let's try to run this API locally and try to play around with it and understand like how it works. For that, we are gonna write Amplify Mock Api, and this will run a mock version of API locally, not in cloud, to be able to test it and to see how it works, to play around. And yeah, AppSync mock endpoint is running at this URL. We can click it. It will open, of course, in a different window. Let's grab it here. And here we can see all our queries. For example, let's see a list of posts if we want to see. And in the items, we will select everything that we want. For example, the caption, created at ID, image, likes, and we can run it. And we see that we don't have any posts at the moment. So let's try to create, first of all, a user. For that, let's add a mutation here, and it's gonna call like add user, and we're gonna create user, and here for the input we can add the inputs, and the name will be Vadim, and we can already see here like the mutation, how it looks. One more thing, we need to query back ID, image, name, and whatever we want. So if we run this add user mutation, let's close this. Yep, we see that it created a user with this ID, with image, with name. We can grab this ID because we want to create a post with it. Come on, like, why can't I copy it? Hello. Yeah. Yeah, weird. Let's run it one more time. Yep, now I can copy it. So let's copy the user and add a new mutation, create post, which will be a create post. The caption will be like, let's say caption, image 1, likes 0, and for the user ID we will paste the user ID that we just created, and also we'll select the ID of the post, image, and also we can query nested fields, for example user, and for the user we can say like image name and ID. So let's run our create post, and we can see that the post has been created with this ID, with this image, and it has this user, created by this user. So that's really nice. Okay, we played around with this, but this does not mean that, for example, right now we can query the first query, which is list of posts, and we see already one post in the list because we added it. If we copy the list of posts in our AppSync console, and if we go to the queries and paste it here, we will see that the items is 0 because we added this information on our local instance of API. So we need to run some queries in the AppSync console in order to create some some data in order to be able to work with that. I will not bother you with that. I already prepared everything, so let me just copy all the mutations that will create all the users, posts, and so on. And one more thing, let me add it to the project because you will be able to get it from Git and not copy it one by one. So let's create a file. populate api.js. Let's paste in here all this information. And one more thing I need to change is for each post I added also like likes count. So let me have a look at the input. Okay, it's just likes. And we will also add like likes here, not to forget, because I prepared it without likes. That's post 1. For the post 2 as well. Let's actually add post 2 with like more likes to see that it works. And post 3 as well. 10. And one more, post 4. Yeah, I think that's the queries that we need to run. So we will copy them from the file. You will find it in the GitHub repository. And we will go to AWS AppSync console. You can access it by running in the terminal, as you saw. Let's close the local one. And you can easily open the console running Amplify console API, and it will open this page. So in this page, let's delete everything and let's paste our code and start creating the user 1. We need to copy the ID of the user and go to the mutation of our post 1, and paste in the user ID, and also for the story 1. You paste in the ID that you copy from the data that you receive from the server. We will need them a bit later. Let's go with the user 2, copy the ID the same way, and go to post 2 and story 2. That's good. User 3, copy the ID, next post, next story. Run user 4, next. I messed up something here. Okay. Yeah, this one is for the current. Yeah, with 2929, story 4, post 4, and for the story 3, I didn't set the proper ID. Okay, we created all the users. Now we just go to the post 1, run it, create, post story 1, post 2, story 2, post 3, story, last post, and last story. Now we can run the list post query. I can make it a bit like this. And here we can see a list of all the posts with their captions, with the users that posted them. And we can see like there are 4 posts in this array. That means that our post has been successfully added to our database. And the same thing for list of stories. It says that why? Yeah, probably list of stories. Here is the array with all the information. So that means that our data is successfully added to the database. Now it's time to connect our application with our backend and display the data from the server. But before that, I'm gonna go real quick to the toilet, and I'm gonna be back in 1 minute. Stay with me, guys, stay with me. I am back. Hey there. So, as we said, we have our data in our database, everything is set up. Now we can continue with displaying this data. So, we deployed our API. We tested our API. Here you can see the information how to test it. I already showed you Amplify Mock Api. Okay, now we will connect the frontend to the API. And to do that, let's close everything. And let's go to our source. First of all, let's connect the feed. So components, feed, we are here. The first thing that we will need is to import some things from AWS Amplify, and that's API and GraphQL operation. The next step is to import the queries that we need, and here yeah, we see that Amplify automatically added the new folder GraphQL into our source, and there is a file queries, and here it has all the list stories. Oh, I messed up the name. Okay, no worries. Get story. Oh no, I didn't mess up. It's list posts and so on. So that's what we need, list posts. So let's import list posts from / GraphQL queries. Okay. Also, we will need a use effect and use state. I'm gonna explain a bit later why we need them. So the first thing is, yeah, we will need to do some logic here. So we will need to add them brackets and the return statement. And the first thing is, what is the logic? So whenever the feed component mounts, we need to go ahead and fetch the posts from our API. So when we need to do that, whenever the component mounts. In a class component, there is like lifecycle method, which is called component did mount. In functional components, how we can achieve that is using the effects. So if we create a use effect and pass in a function, and the second parameter, if it's an empty string, that means that this function will be called only the first time when the component mounts. So that's good for our use case. And we will say here like fetch posts. Now let's create this function, fetch posts, which will be an async function because it needs to fetch the data from the API and it needs to wait the data because the data it's not instantly available. It might be available like after a couple of milliseconds, and that's why we need a sync here. So let's do all the logic into a try block, because whenever we do API network calls, we need to be sure that we include it into a try, because any errors can occur, like the user might not have internet or the server might return 500 errors. A lot of things can happen. So let's console log error.message. And okay, in the try we will do post data is equal to API. No, it's equal to await because we need to await for the API to fetch. Then GraphQL, and here we need to call the GraphQL operation that we imported, and we need to pass to this function the query that we want to run. So the query is the list posts, like this. Let's first of all console log the post data before doing anything with it to understand that our API is called successfully. We receive data. We will need to see the structure of it. So where is my debugger? Let's drag it here. Come on. Let's open terminal. And yeah, besides a lot of warnings and errors, we can see this object here, and this object contains a data field. The data has list posts, and list post has an item array with 4 items in it. And here we see the ID with the captions, with users, and all the information that we need. So our data that we need, our actual posts, are under the result.data.listPosts.items. Okay, that's post data dot what I already forgot. Data, yeah, data dot list posts dot items. Yeah, if we have a look here, yeah, right now we see only like an array of items. So what we want to do with these items, we need to keep them in state to be able to render them. So for that reason, we will use a state for the post, and here we set post use state, and the default value for the post will be like an empty array. So instead of console log, we can say set posts, and here is the post data. And the next thing we need to do is to send this post to the flat list. Instead of data, we send posts. Now we can delete this hard-coded data, ugly. And yeah, let's save. It will not work from the beginning because we need to adjust a bit how the post is rendered. The first thing is we change from image URI to just image for the post as well. Likes count, I think, is just likes. Caption, post, and posted at is created at. Okay, we see our posts displayed perfectly here. We see the user who posted them. We see the image, which is different. We see the number of likes. No, we don't see the number of likes. Let's check the schema. Maybe they are not called this way, not likes, but no, it's likes. Interesting. Let's check here. Yeah, likes. Come on, why? Footer. Likes count prop. Can we console log likes? Likes count prop, and here likes 10, yeah. then y. Let's check the type of, maybe they're string. No, it's number. Oh no, why I didn't see them? I thought that it's likes and then the number, but they are actually working. I'm just blind. Yeah, 0 likes, 40 likes. If we like, it will increase to 41. Yeah, everything is there. All right, so we managed to fetch the data for the posts and display it here. Let's do the same thing for our stories. Close all. Let's go to the components, to user stories preview, and data is stories data. Okay, here again we will import, let's import API and GraphQL operation from Amplify, AWS Amplify. I mistyped it. Yeah, GraphQL operation, and we also need to import the query for this. So from our GraphQL folder queries, we need to import the list stories, right? Yep, stories. The same thing here. Let's add the parentheses, return statement. Here we define the statement initially, stories, then set stories, and the use effect. That will fetch stories. And don't forget to send empty array to the second parameter to be called only in the initial call. Let's import use effect. Let's import use state. And now let's define the fetch stories, which is a constant. Again, async, the same way as we were doing for the posts. Try catch error, and here we say like stories data will be equal to api.graphql, and here GraphQL operation, and we pass in our query, which will be list stories. Now let's set stories to the stories data dot list stories dot items, if I'm not mistaken. Now for the data we can pass in stories, and we can delete the import of stories data. Okay, something is not working. We can console log what we receive here. Console log, oh come on, promise cannot read property list stories of undefined. We forgot to await, of course. Yeah, now something is displayed there, and we need to go to the story here, and instead of image URI we'll destructure the image. That's it. Now it should work. Yep, we see our newly created stories here. Probably if we click on them, yeah, it's not gonna work. So we have, yeah, story user ID. We are sending them to the user ID. All right. Now, yeah, we fetch them from the server here. They're displayed perfectly. Now let's think on how to connect them the story page. That's here in the screens, story screen, index. Yeah, we have a lot of logic here, and user stories. Let's remind ourselves like what we were doing here. Like we were having like an array of user stories. Stories data. Navigate to next user. Okay, that's gonna be interesting. But we can yeah, let's import here again. We'll need to query import from Amplify. Again, we'll do the same thing, API, GraphQL operation. And we import them from GraphQL queries. We import user stories. So let's check our GraphQL queries. Get user. It has posts, but it doesn't have stories. Okay. Or maybe we can do like list stories, get the list of all the stories, and just display them there. List stories. So initially, all right, we'll have a lot of things to change here. Let's define the fetch of stories. Fetch stories will be an async function. And here let's do the same thing, try catch console log. And here like stories data, let's query them is equal to await API dot GraphQL and here GraphQL operation and list stories like this. Then we can say that let's have this story stored here, set stories, and will be initially an empty array. So we can set them here, set stories with stories data dot list stories dot items, right? Hopefully I didn't mess it. So initially we will fetch the stories. Fetch stories. We will not need like the user stories here the same way as we're doing previously. Set user stories. Nope. Set active story index 0. All right. No user stories. Okay, we'll have an active story index. Okay, let's active story will be to our stories dot active story index. And we'll press profile picture. Profile picture will be active story dot user dot image, active story dot user dot name, active story created at. What else? Okay, if it's different than stories, anything else, handle next story. Active story index is more than just stories length. Then we do nothing. Here as well, let's not navigate to our users because all our stories is into the same array and it's much easier to navigate through them. We will not need these ones. Okay, set stories. Shall we give it a go? So let's go here. Cannot read property image URI of undefined. That's where? That's somewhere here. Let's image URI active story. Let's do or stories dot length is equal to 0. Now what's going on? Let's console log this information to make sure that what we are receiving from the server. If we go here, possible and handle promise. Why? Just tell me why, not back to this flow. No credential, application ID or region. What happened to you? Let's try to rerun it. Maybe the token expired probably. No. What's going on? What's going on? List stories. Console log error fetching stories. Let's clear. Press on a story. Did we press? Nothing is happening. Reloading doesn't work. Come on. Not now. Let's Let's try to rerun the application and see how is it going. Okay, it works. If we press, okay, something is showing. Only the image doesn't show correctly. Active story. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's somewhere like image background, active storage. Okay, it's not image URI, it's just image. And now, okay, okay, something is there. Okay, we see different stories. We see different users. All right, yeah, we see our stories loaded from the server. We see different timestamps. However, yeah, they are not displayed very well, but yeah, you get the idea. We can display them pretty easily with moment.js. Yeah, it takes some time to load the images, but if we would add some caching, it will run much smoother. So if we go back here, we go to the feed, we can like, we can see all the posts, we can go to the stories, we see the stories, everything is from the server. Yeah, that's awesome. Like that's really nice. Like I didn't expect to finish adding authentication and also connecting everything to the database in just 1.5 hours, with also like some waiting time to build and stuff like that. I didn't show you anything like how to add data using mutations, but I think that yeah, you can definitely find it online. I probably will not go into that in this project, but let me know down below if you're interested, and I might continue doing this application for more episodes. Yeah, but I think right now that's it with Instagram clone. And something more interesting is coming up, guys, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and during the next week, not on Saturday, I think I'm gonna move the live streams on Thursday. We're gonna start a new project, which will be very exciting. Let me know down below what application do you think I will clone into the next week. So yeah, guys, I will publish all the code about Instagram clone on GitHub. Go ahead, check it out, play around. You can continue developing it. If you manage to do something interesting, go ahead and tag me on Instagram stories. I will be very happy to see that this helped someone. And if you learn something, also let me know. If you have any questions or are stuck on anything, I will try to help everyone in the comments down below. So yeah, don't be shy, like ask and I will definitely help. And yeah, thank you very much for sticking along so far. It's been like 4 episodes, but we managed to build the whole application with authentication, with database, with displaying like stories, um, all the interesting stuff. I'm pretty happy with what we managed to build. So, but the next project will be even more interesting. So guys, as always, stay hydrated,